I mean, I like that to be out working with them. belugas come from? Belugas are found in the Arctic and subarctic waters of this world. And as soon as I say the word Arctic, I want you to just close your eyes and think about the Arctic for a second. I know it's kind of hard right now when you're in your shorts and light jacket. The Arctic, as soon as I think of that, think of ice, I think of cold, I think of snow. Those are all very true things about the Arctic. Another thing I think about when I think about the Arctic is barren. You don't think of a lot of life being up there in the Arctic. You think of a lot of empty spaces. But that's not always true. There's something really exciting that happens in a part of the Arctic in the springtime, in an area known as Lancaster Sound. Lancaster Sound is a body of water, and it's located north of Hudson's Bay. And through most of the year, Lancaster Sound has a very thick layer of ice on the top of it. But about springtime, the water warms up and the air warms up enough that the ice begins to crack. So right now, there's a little bit of open water. You can move through Lancaster Sound right now if you are a whale or another marine mammal. So just before the ice begins to open in Lancaster Sound, a lot of whales are there waiting for it to open. At the mouth of Lancaster Sound, there are tens of thousands of belugas. There are narwhals, bull-headed whales, different types of seals, and polar bears. And they're all there, and they can survive there because there's a lot of fish in the ocean. And they can all be there because it's teeming with a lot of little tiny animals. So Lancaster Sound is far from being a barren place, especially in the springtime. It's teeming with life. Most of it's marine life. A lot of the animals there live in the water. Another thing that I don't think about when I think of the Arctic is sound. When you think of the Arctic, you think of it as being a very quiet place. But that is not true in Lancaster Sound if you are underneath the water. Right now, I'd like to give you a little sample of what it sounds like underneath the water's edge at Lancaster Sound. Going to carry a tape, you're going to listen to some of the marine animals that are up there. A lot of those animals depend on sound to find out about the world around them. So think Arctic and listen to what it sounds like underneath the water there. Belugas are to their world. There is a world of ice and a world of sound. Let's start on our journey by taking a look at a beluga. Now, their bodies aren't quite as streamlined as other whales. Instead, they've got quite a very thick layer of water. About 40% of their body is water. And that's essential for belugas. The water that they live in is freezing cold for most of the year. They use that blubber as insulation to keep themselves warm. And their world, most of the water usually has a layer of ice on it. But there's often cracks in that ice, and that's where belugas come up for a breath of air. Unfortunately, polar bears know that that's where they come up. So when they do come up, they like to take a look around, make sure it's safe. So right now they're looking at you. And while you're looking at them, I'd like you to notice how flexible their necks are. That's really unusual in whales as well. A lot of them can't bend their necks, but belugas can. Pretty helpful when you're a beluga, because they spend a lot of time at the bottom, scooping things from the bottom of the ocean. So it's nice that they can bend their necks down to get that mouthful. Now you're looking at the powerhouse of a beluga. That's their tail. By pumping this up and down, that's what allows them to move forward in the water. Those tail flukes, they're not that large. That's one of the parts of their body that's not covered by blubber. So they're small to conserve body heat. If they were larger, they'd lose too much heat and they wouldn't be able to keep themselves warm. But if you look closely at those tails, you'll see some gray lines near the surface of the flukes. Those gray lines are blood vessels that are very close to the surface. So if the belugas are in warmer water and they want to cool down, they can send a lot of blood to their tails, and that's where they'll lose the heat that they want to get rid of. Right now, they're spending a lot of their time in the mouths of rivers this time of year. This is when they have their calves. So they like to maybe cool down a bit. down for a mouthful of food. When they come back up again, the crack in the ice has frozen over. But they can remedy this. They have a ridge on their...
Are you hot? Yeah, you want your jacket off?
These animals have to be able to move at speeds of up to 50 kilometers an hour in order to pursue their prey. Killer whales spend about 65% of their time foraging or looking for food, and their feeding grounds may be separated by large distances. What you just saw is one of the ways in which they can catch up with one another when... Now, as whale watchers, you can tell we have two male killer whales here, and that's because their tail flukes are curved in towards the center. If you get an opportunity later on in underwater viewing, you can take a look at Biosa, our female. She has a tail that is flat across. And this is one of the ways in which you, as whale watchers, can tell whales apart. Now, we've shown you how to identify males from females. But you might want to be able to use your cameras today to take a picture of this dorsal fin. The dorsal fin is very important because it's one of the ways in which we can tell specific whales apart from one another. Every killer whale has a different dorsal fin. Might be a different size or shape or have different marks or notches taken out of it. Watch our killer whales today and see if you can tell an easy difference between our two males. Now, we saw how these animals move very quickly around the tight corners of the habitat. And one of the ways in which they do this is by the use of the pectoral flipper. This is the steering wheel of the killer whale, and they have to be able to navigate around tight corners at times in the ocean. If you were to take an X-ray of that flipper, you'd find the exact same bone structure as we have in our fingers, our hands, and our arms. Just imagine your fingers about 3 feet longer and fused together at the knuckles, and you've got what it looks like on the inside of Hayek's flipper. Right now you're getting a good look inside the mouth of the killer whale.
Patrick, stop
You might be able to see that big pink tongue and those sharp pointy teeth. Killer whales use these teeth for ripping and tearing pieces off of their prey. They don't actually chew their food, they swallow it whole. So that's something for you to watch for during the presentation. Now today we can clearly see where that noise is coming from, but if you were out on a boat on a foggy day, that noise might sound quite strange to you. That is the killer whale exhaling. That blowhole on the top of their head is connected directly to a large set of lungs. And these animals must come to the surface and always be thinking about their next breath. There's an area off our coast called Robson Bight, and it's an ecological reserve for these animals. In this area, these animals will often come right up onto the beach in order to rub themselves, or they may come up to snatch animals like seals off of the rocks. Take a look at Finna's body shape. You'll see he's very torpedo-shaped, and that he's very shiny. These things help him to move very quickly through the water from one area to another. Now you might see the marine mammal staff using different hand signals. These animals have excellent eyesight and can see both above and below the water. Killer whales are very hard to watch and study in the wild, and they're very difficult to see as they move underneath the water. I think a few of you didn't expect where they were going to come up that time. This coloring, black and white coloring, makes them very difficult to see. When they're moving through the habitat underneath the water, I'd like you to watch for them today and see if you can figure out what they're going to do. To was the voice of the killer whale. I'd like you all to put your hand on your throat right now and say, "Hello, how are you?" to the person on your left.
Hello, how are you?
Now, did you feel those vibrations? Those are produced by your vocal cords. Killer whales don't have any vocal cords. They make these sounds by expanding and contracting the muscles around that hole on the top of their head called the blowhole. This is one of the ways in which they can communicate with one another.
That's the carpet.
Right now our killer whales are communicating with you. See if you can figure out a way to communicate back with them. Pectoral fins against the water. That's one way in which they can let one another know exactly where they are when they've been separated by large distances. They can slap their body parts against the water to let one another know different things. Now everybody go ahead and stamp your feet really hard. Give our whales some encouragement. Now we stamp our feet when we're angry or upset about something. And what you're seeing is the killer whale displaying its aggression or its anger. This is the way that they do it. And you can often see this in the wild. But they might also slap their tail against the water like that in order to stun or kill a seal or sea lion so that they can easily eat them. Now try and follow that black and white coloring underneath the water. very powerful predators. And they're very difficult to see as they move from one area to another. Researchers have had real problems studying these animals because they spend most of their time below the surface of the water.
Ow! What's your problem?
Now the waters are very dark and it makes them very difficult to see. This black and white coloring helps them to hide from people watching them at the surface and also from animals they might be chasing after. If you follow those white markings from the tip of their mouth down to the tip of their tail, you'll see that their body is broken up by black and white. This helps them to hide from their prey so that they can easily sneak up on it and consume it. As whale watchers, you're getting an excellent view of these animals today, and you might not be able to see all these natural behaviors out in the wild as easily. After these animals have landed on a school of fish, they might come up and take it in one big mouthful, just the way they like it. We've only just begun to learn about the killer whale, and in the past 25 years we've learned a little bit about them, but we still have a lot of work to do so that we can learn more about these animals and protect them in their natural environment. I hope you've learned a little bit today about the natural behaviors of these animals, and if you ever get the opportunity to view them in the wild, I hope you'll continue to watch them and look for things like you've seen today. I invite you now to come down and take a closer look at the whales or go to underwater viewing and watch them from below the surface of the water. If you have any questions about this wonderful animal, we'll be at the right-hand side of the habitat to answer them for you. Enjoy the rest of your day here at the Vancouver Aquarium.
We're gonna come around in a second. Look, here he comes, Carol. Here he comes. Oh, man. Golly.
There's a black squirrel, Carol. Hands to your right, all the way over by the tree. You see the black squirrel? Oh, he just went in the woods. Yeah, the black squirrel's out again. I'm sticking out. Is it there? Oh. Look at him, isn't he cute, Josh? Up on top of that platform. You see it? Jeffrey, look up there. I don't know. Well, I just can't look at. Keep walking around, Jeffrey. Oh, you need a drink, Cheryl? Come over here. Yeah. I can get a drink.
He says okay. You know what he said? Yeah, I know what he said. He said okay. I'll get a drink.
What's coming in there, man? Go first, yeah.
Looks so brown looking, don't it?
Go get your ball. Go get your ball. Oh, see, you do the tree. That'll be cute.
The otters are going to watch.
We're going to the tunnel now.
Out there, cheetah.
Peacock.
Look.